this big walk-in closet, and you guys had to step over your beds to get your hand.
And they're like, well, we'll switch halfway through. I had to live with Frank the whole freaking year. That's right. I went, I'm not moving.
Did you try squatting again?
Yeah, yeah. And then when we moved out there, we used Hayes. And then I'm like, I'm not living with Aaron. So
Is that all it does?
Olive outfit with like a red big olive. I don't know why you're
It's a stuffed olive. I read your art. You don't know my mind.
because I think Brian was excited that, you know, Mel was bringing her friends to her. He was like, and I remember we were playing and Aaron had the greatest fit of all time, but it was 90 degrees that way. I'm like, oh my God, you crushed it. I'm like, holy crap. They had all the lumber and there was and I was going to go pick it up and then we found out that they split that split. Good call, Eric.
It's sad I have to go
Two chicks that lived upstairs that were just my best friends. They were like best friend, and then I think at the end of the year they hated each other. Seems like every Friday we'd eat at First Name. Yeah, and the 79th.
Monday night,
Cheat Monday night football. I still told us. spent $4, you know, I'm like, oh my God. Like 8. Aaron with his big bike talent invitation.
It's just ready.
Are they in the, yeah, they're in the championship. Oh, I just hope Miami makes it in. I mean, if you only lose one game, I know it. I always have a hard time. Make it in.
I have told the story so many
You guys don't work every week.
I call it when the kids were little. 3 years out. Last year I was set back out again. We went to Georgia for Thanksgiving.
Sounds like you, I would be right out. Around my field. I hit golf balls. I hit golf balls in the field. So I've gotten kind of like my own driving license.
I was there for a couple hours. He takes the 4-wheeler out there and I'll see him for 2 hours trying to get back and forth.
Get rid of it.
And a company like that.
But now you can wait for I'm out of the golf cheap definitely, but it's gonna be in his own. Sometimes at 55.
I can hit some senior season, right? Oh, pretty good. What kind of thing do you see you in the summer? And then what kind of thing do you do in You room is a sweat. He runs every day. I'm like,
Bye, Grandma.
I had coffee in my hand. Sorry.
Now I'm rethinking my whole show. I've got
Life is short. And I still love it too. Yeah, that was
I'm glad at least Katie but boy, I need to finish the report of it. All the work we put in all those years, like I started with McIntyre, and then Dave, and then Larry until I left. Stuff we did was so innovative, and
Well, that's use that model for the nation and it's like the same
Your chair, you think got taken off your chair. Here, let me put this here.
and I got stuck in the middle of this.
What are you looking for?
The chairs on the outside, I don't think are taken yet either. Yeah, if you got a, if you got Joey, your daughter's looking for you. Like over by the door.
She drives a Bowling Green and her babysitter great granddaughter. She'll get off at 6 and take me out on that babysit day. It's out and about. And that actually worked out perfect. Yeah, John and I were right over there. Well, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, here, help with that.
Joe.
You don't have to pay that much. Yeah, just yeah. That's what Joey
seats are several down the hallway in the back. Wherever you see an open seat, please take it. Hello and welcome. On behalf of Gina, Tyler, Ben, Lindsay, and the entire family, I'm sure they'd like to thank you all for being here with them this morning. If you haven't taken a look around the room, especially those in front, if you just turn around and see the outpouring of love, and that's a testament to the legacy. So I already know there's a lot to be proud of. Before we do begin our funeral service, I have one request. If you have a cell phone, please turn it off or just put it on vibrate, on silent, so we won't disrupt the service today. At this time, I'd like to introduce Pastor Chuck.
Well, again, my name is Chuck Martel, and I serve as a pastor, and it is my great honor to be with you here today. Today we gather to do something sacred. We gather to celebrate the life of Brian B.J. Jones. And I say sacred because we are honoring a life. A father, a brother, a son, a husband, a friend. And let me say this, as we celebrate, as we honor and remember his life and the impact he had on so many, it will probably take on many forms. We will probably laugh as stories are told and memories recalled. There will be tears shed, and rightly so. Our tears are a sign that we deeply care for someone. There is at times even anger, frustration, and confusion. All of these can rise up. And all of these feelings are normal and right and have their place in this process. And we gather to purpose ourselves in all of that. It is indeed my honor to be with you. I met Brian under unfortunate circumstances. I presided over Bobby Birmingham's funeral. Know the Birmingham family well. And so this family feels like a bit of an extension of that, and rightfully so. And so I am honored to be able to be asked to serve in this day with you all. As we begin, can we just pray together? God, thank you for this time to kind of slow down, to reflect, to laugh, to celebrate, and to mourn. God, we know in all of these emotions, it is a roller coaster of the soul. So we need comfort and we need peace. And we know that those things come from you. And so grant them, we ask, in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, normally in this part of the service, it is very traditional to read the obituary. And Jamie did a great job on that and with the family, and you guys did that. But can I tell you something about obituaries? They're not for you guys who are sitting here in this room. Obituaries are for people who don't know the person they're talking about. It's why we don't gather and we just don't read that and you go, okay, we did it. What we do when we gather in moments like this is we tell stories. We say, hey, do you remember that time? And we look at photos and we celebrate everything that all of those photos and stories remind us of. Stories have a way of capturing somebody's heart, have a way of capturing who they were, way more than a few paragraphs trying to encapsulate somebody's life could ever do. And that's why the family here today wants to open up a time of sharing, to tell stories, to tell memories, to share of the impact that Brian had on so many of us. As I look around the room last night and today and just overhear some of the conversations and the laughter and, yes, the inappropriate moments, because those are what make us us. They are filled with such joy and heartfelt moments. Even as I was going around today, if you have not got a chance to look at the book that's right back there on the table of You're All Coming Together and everything, man, that is brilliant. That is so special. And many of the pictures, gosh, the one that made me laugh out loud, I literally did, was some of the pictures of Brian back there in high school and the unfortunate length of the soccer shorts that we had to endure back in the 80s and 90s. It's just tragic. It's unfortunate. But it's moments like that, those memories where we connect with one another. So, here's what we're going to do. Lindsay is going to start off our time of kind of sharing. She's going to share some thoughts, some memories, some stories. And then we're going to open it up to all of you to come forward and to share. And then Ben is going to conclude our time. Now, let me say this as well. People don't like getting up front and doing what I'm doing, talking in front of crowds. Statistically, most people would rather be Brian right now than me. People would rather die than public speak because I don't talk very well, or what will I say, or in these moments, I'll cry. It's okay to cry. Again, our tears are a sign that we care and we love. And so, come. Lindsay, would you start us off? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I feel like my dad being the leadoff batter in baseball. So, I wanted to tell you all about the meaning behind what my dad is wearing today. On Monday, my mom asked me if I would pick out my dad's outfit for today because he always asked me for fashion advice. She mentioned a black suit and a blue suit. That night, I spent some time alone with my dad and told him all what I just told you. I wanted him to have the choice of what he wore. So I said to him, I don't know if you can send me any signs yet, but I want you to decide what you wear. If you want to wear the black suit, show me a Tesla Cybertruck. And if you want to wear the blue suit, show me a Blue Jay. The next morning, I went to my high school to tell teachers that knew my dad about what happened. As I was pulling out of the parking lot to head to the hospital, I saw a Tesla Cybertruck, maybe 5 cars next to mine. And I knew it was my dad telling me he wanted a blue suit. His shirt is the shirt that he wore to many family events, such as our annual Christmas Eve Mass, my high school graduation, and my niece's kindergarten graduation. And I probably have missed, at least one more family event because that's just who my dad was. I'm going to apologize in advance because this might take a while, as I'm sure many of you have many stories about my dad. As some of you might know, my dad wrote a beautiful eulogy for my grandpa's funeral a couple years ago. During the process of writing this, I listened to his well thought out and perfectly said speech. For my dad's words in his eulogy, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It's really nice to see a large group of people to honor my dad and the life he lived. I could say so much about my dad and his impact on not only my life, but so many others as well. I know for a fact I would not be the woman I am today without him. As much as getting my dad's sense of humor got me in trouble sometimes, I'm so incredibly blessed to have gotten the thing that some people say they love most about my dad. Looking through his old memories told us just how much he loved us, especially my mom. Last Sunday night, we read through his scrapbook he made for my mom when he proposed. All the small details he included made me realize that he loved every part of the life he started and was going to create with my mom. On Monday morning, I brought the scrapbook to the hospital, along with 2 of his high school newspapers he was the sports editor of, which for some reason he never told us about. Maybe because the yellow paper on the same table, it's basically an article about himself. Brian Jones scored this many goals, Brian Jones scored that many goals, and oh yeah, we had 2 injuries, someone broke his leg, but Brian Jones scored this many goals. Reading all of the different newspaper articles that he was in from his town's newspaper was such a surreal feeling. A couple days before my dad's heart attack, he showed Blake and I his favorite articles. One of these articles, and the reason why he got the scrapbook from Karen Churchill in the first place, was to tell us about a basketball game where he scored 29 points and broke a 35-game losing streak. By the way, that scrapbook is here, and I invite each of you to look at it. His high school years were just the start of the impact that Brian Jones would make on this earth. My dad had a lot of his own friends from his different sports and activities, but he made even more friends from mine and my brother's sports. First, it was Tyler and his friends. Although my dad never coached Tyler, it was more volunteering, he surely was at every single game he could make it to, even though he wasn't in the dugout. It was only a couple years until Tyler went and played high school baseball, so my dad would have loved to coach you, even, as many years as you could. Then it's on to the middle child, Ben. My dad's first taste of truly watching his players grow up was with Ben. I think watching Ben play soccer, basketball, and baseball reminded him of when he was younger and all the amazing things he did on the fields and on the court. Finally, he continued his love of sports and coaching with me. Although I didn't love having my dad as my coach sometimes, I always knew that he knew what I was capable of. I played basketball just like my dad and brothers, but unlike my brothers, I did not play for too long. My love was for soccer and softball. Physical movement has always been a part of my dad's life. When my dad had his heart attack, he was working out on the elliptical like he did every day. Anyway, that's enough about sports. I want to talk about how my dad, or who I knew my dad to be. To me, my dad was a hero, genius, simple, routine-focused, stubborn, analogy-giving, hilarious, and honest person. All of these qualities are great and all, but the most important attribute was his ability to be the best dad, husband, grandfather, and friend to my family and many people in our community. I think the most common thing said about my dad is his warm smile and dedication to help anyone at any time. I want to slightly mention all of these qualities that my dad had that I had just mentioned. Hero. The first time my dad was a hero was when he gave me the Heimlich maneuver because I was choking on a mint a couple years ago. The most recent and most impactful time he was a hero was when he went to the operating room to donate his lungs, liver, and kidneys. He was then transported to Solita to donate some of his skin and even his eyes. Seeing everyone at his honor walk was truly breathtaking. I knew my dad was a popular guy, but seeing all of his closest family and friends come together to celebrate his life and the lives he is saving was a feeling that words can't express. Thank you so much to everyone that was there, truly. Genius. Anytime I had a question about any topic imaginable, I knew Brian Jones would have some sort of answer. For some reason, my dad knew at least a little bit about everything I could ask, which considers him a genius to me. Even though his answers might not have always been right, but don't tell him I said that. Simple. My dad was almost always happy, even when the day was just like the one before. My dad was simply just happy to wake up next to his beautiful wife and talk to his wonderful children every day. Routine focused. When my dad found something that he loved, he would do it every day. He was so dialed into his morning routine. He would exercise at the same time, make the same breakfast every morning, wear the same thing to work every day, come home pretty much the same time. I mean, I could go on and on about how intricate his routines were. Stubborn. The whole time we were at the hospital, everyone kept saying how stubborn my dad was. He could never allow the nurses to leave the room for too long. One night, every time the nurse left the room, something was beeping not too long after. Before the hospital, my dad always had an idea of his own. Even if my mom had mentioned it 5 minutes earlier, it was still my dad's. In the summers, we would spend all day outside with the radio playing, but he would only ever let the Case and Countdown or 101.5 The River play. Analogy giving. I don't think I've had one conversation with my dad where an analogy wasn't being told. That was how he explained stuff. The best part about his analogies was that he would give you one even when you understood exactly what he was talking about. I think he just got so proud of himself that he couldn't help but share this brilliant analogy he came up with. I honestly don't know how he came up with them so fast either. It was almost like he had planned them out beforehand. Hilarious. I truly think my dad made me laugh every time I talked to him. The easiest way to make me laugh was to quote our favorite movies, Home Alone and Home Alone 2. We loved those movies, but what made us bond over them was the fact that we knew exactly what we were talking about, but my mom had no idea. It got to the point where if we were laughing about something that one of us had said and she was confused, she would just say Home Alone, and we would be laughing and shaking our heads. Along with Home Alone quotes, my dad would always have a stupidly funny joke to say, even when it should stay an inside thought. My favorite joke was the one he said at my grandpa's funeral a few years ago. He was talking about how great heaven is, so he said, and I quote, "We've all heard how glorious heaven is. No pain or suffering, streets lined with gold. I say that if heaven is half as good as we think, it's no wonder people are dying to get there." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sense of humor of the Brian Jones. Lastly, my dad was such an honest man. He always stuck to his word and always told the truth, whether or not you wanted to hear it. I think he learned that level of honesty from my Grandpa Jones. As my dad took the saying WWJD for what would Jesus do, and changed it to what would Jesse do. Jesse was my grandpa's first name, for those who don't know. When my dad became a grandpa, I saw a different side of him. When the kids got older and familiar with sports, he never hesitated to play with them. With my niece Paisley being a lefty, he always said how much she needed to be a lefty slapper. And my dad never passed up the opportunity to play catch with his grandson Cole. Even if it was in the house and my dad was sitting in his spot on the couch. As I begin to close my eulogy, I want to share a couple lyrics from the song I had chosen years ago to play at my wedding for our daddy-daughter dance. The song is Half the Man by Jennifer Hart. Here are some lyrics that stick out to me. Daddy set the bar real high, showed me what a real man looks like. It's gonna take one to fill those shoes. In his eyes, nothing less will do. I want to end this by telling you each how much my dad loved and appreciated every moment he spent with you. My message to each of you is that life is so beyond precious, and it's something that needs to be cherished, because everything can change in a split second. If anybody would like to come up and share anything about my dad, I'm sure everyone would love to hear it. I know I would. Thank you.
When I thought about how to start this, I couldn't help but feel everything being pulled back from so many years, and different thoughts came up and scattered all over the place. But the one simple line that hit me was Billy D. Williams in Brian's song, of all movies to quote. Taking some liberties of that, doing my best Billy D. Williams as Gale Sayers. I love Brian Jones. As I went through this, there's so many ways to thinking of organizing this, especially following Brian has kind of somewhat become a paid speaker on the eulogy circuit over the last 15 years. So, in fact, he actually did mine in advance at my 60th birthday. So I certainly couldn't come up here and be anything less than thorough. One of the ways that we talk about this, we talk about the chronological story of somebody's life. And you don't know this, but the only reason all of you are here today is because in June of 1990, our 10-man softball team was a guy short. And as we sat in Walbridge trying to figure out what we were going to do, Steve Toth looked at me and said, well, I think my fraternity brother might be interested in playing. I'm like, well, we can't play without him, so sure. Don't know this guy, don't know anything about him. So he comes out, and again, since we don't know anything about him, shove him into left center and bat him 10th. Which at the time I didn't know that ticked Brian off more than anything could possibly do. So then he proceeded to have a catch over his shoulder and going away back in the outfield, and he went 2 for 3 or 3 for 4, and next game he batted first. No surprise. And over probably 1,000 softball games after that, he never batted anywhere else. And we were happy that he was there that weekend. And since we were short, we're like, well, hey, why don't you play for us this summer? And he said, well, I can't do that. Again, this is why this is so important at one moment in time. He goes, I just graduated, I don't have a job, I have to go back to Willoughby. No, you could probably stick around for a little bit. We got 3 guys in our 2-bedroom apartment, but we got a couch. He's like, well, yeah, I kind of want to try to look for things around here anyway, so I'll stay for a little bit. A little bit turned into the entire summer that he spent on my couch, which I think is why he doesn't get upset at me when I stay in his camper all the time. He's like, yeah, you got that couch. So basically, we had the first ever NIL, I guess, that we had to pay a player to stay in town and spend the summer with us. But unfortunately, as summers go, the summer started to end, and he was like, well, I still haven't found that job, it's time to go home. And so, let me talk to my boss. Talked to Larry Cazal, I said, hey, got this guy, I know he's a good dude, can we get him in here? That lit the world on fire. From that point forward, Brian took off in our organization, never looked back, and for the next decade became our brother and our friend and a unmistakable, consistent cog in our group. The funny part about it is we almost didn't let him in. Lindsay talks about his sense of humor. First joke he ever told us was, there's a daddy ketchup, daddy tomato, mama tomato, little baby tomatoes like way back here. All of a sudden the dad tomato gets mad, jumps back, squashes the baby tomato. The mom tomatoes, what did you do that? Make him catch up. We're like, okay. But that indelible, silly humor and smile and just ability to see that silliness was definitely a large part of everything that brought his charm. I have to say my state of mind has fluctuated over the past week so much. When I first got the second call that things weren't looking great, my only emotion was anger. This just isn't right. It's not fair. There's nothing about this that makes sense in the concept of risk and reward in this world. Here's a guy who's doing everything right, takes care of himself, and this is happening. But seeing friends and family over the week and thinking spiritually, I started to calm down. And then as I started to put words to paper, started to get upset again. And this time I got upset at Brian. Because this is the first time I got my hair cut in years that Brian didn't tell me how handsome I looked. And you forgot to tell me, in case I forget to tell you later, what a great time I had. And that is certainly the truth. And we didn't forget to tell each other. We always knew. So yes, we did have a really good time. And that's what makes this hurt so much. But if you think about it, and you look back at this room and all the people that are online, and all the people that wanted to be here that couldn't, and we reflect on how many times we've done this, the reality has to hit you that you can't lose so many good friends and good people unless you were lucky enough to have good friends and to know good people. And that's why I feel blessed, because Brian is definitely one of the best. As Lindsay said, who is Brian Jones? Clearly one of the most honest, straightforward, consistent people I've ever met. That consistency measured even into his softball playing. One of the reasons why he was always the leadoff hitter. He could go games without hits. He could go periods of times where, you know, he wasn't getting on as much as everybody normally thought he would. But he was so consistent. His approach was always the same. He took the same swing, the same workout, as Lindsay said, the same routines. So the guy never had slumps. All of us, you have peaks and valleys, not Brian. Just straightforward, honest to a fault. Thought it hit me yesterday that, you know, we all have some kind of skeletons or moments that we're not so proud of in our life that we're like, yeah, you know, I think I did a decent job in life, but I hope people don't know this about me. Not Brian. An open book. Anything that he was and did, he certainly would expose to the entire world. No shame whatsoever. Although, do believe when he first did introduce the Birminghams to his dad, he was trying to hide the fact of how much he drank. And then even more than that, I think he was trying to hide how much we drank. And then he would tell his dad would come up to him and say, I've never seen people that can drink like that and don't get stupid and mean and angry. But we didn't, because we were celebrating. Every day was a celebration. I think Brian was the ultimate politician, and I don't know whether he said it just to torment Gina, but I think for years he wanted to be the county auditor. And I think I started that dream for him. I was on, Toledo used to have a morning political talk show, and we always had to leave the show with some kind of juicy tidbit. And so one day I said, here's the council slate for next year. And I laid out like 8 or 9 people that were really going to run, and that were younger and up and coming people. And then at the end of it, I said, and Brian Jones. and the political writer for the Blade had to say, who is this Brian Jones guy? Who is this Brian Jones guy? So he was like, so it became this big thing, and they had to, and Brian got interviewed and talked about it. And I think Matt will tell you later the amount of work that he did in the office and how impressive he was to both the Lucas County and Wood auditors and now his people at Vision. However, all of this consistency, he's not without some contradictions. As we can see from all of here, he's a very social man with made many friends. How the heck you do that without ever wanting to leave the house is beyond me. But how he did it was he built a paradise at his house that we all came to. That first Tyler and all of his friends would be there. He's like, you don't have to go anywhere, just be here. Be in our backyard. If you wanted to learn how to play soccer, I'll build a soccer net. If you want to play golf, Ben, I'll build you a golf course in the backyard. It just, however it was, it just built up. And it became the legendary Jones Estate pitch and putt golf course and campground. So the greatest resort that nobody ever paid for. But we thank you so much for that. He also wasn't a big fan of spending money. But somehow, some way, we got him out to the national championship game and Ohio State and Miami, and he took his now fiancee Gina with him. And as we were looking for tickets to get into the game, Ryan's like, nah, I don't know if that's worth it. It's like, do we really want to spend that much? We can watch it on TV. And Gina adeptly said, you brought me all the way out here. You don't get me into that game, I'm not marrying you. So, even in some of those contradictions, he had an ability to be redirected. How do I fit in with all of this? I was the last guy that he would talk to at all of our parties. We would sit there sometimes talking about the world's deepest stuff, sometimes about absolutely nothing, sometimes just listening to Weird Al Yankovic songs and just wondering how we can make fun of any other song. Sometimes I was his alibi or excuse to make it seem like he didn't want to be out there. Yeah, I just got to stay out with John. I got to talk to him. Even on the days where he's like, I got to be up at work the next day. You guys got to leave early. And so we get up, we sit there, get done cleaning things up. And he's like, all right, I'm just going to have one. Then I make it 1:30. And as I would try to leave, he goes, I think I'm going to have one more, which was his invitation to me. Hey, why don't you have one more? One more was a big part of our lives and our seedier moment, more for stupid stuff I did than what he did. But it becomes apparent to me that the one thing that we can always want, but not always be promised, is one more. So where does the future hold? Brian made things very easy on our family and Gina and everybody by having this place that we went to, this paradise, as we lost both of our parents in the last 5 years. And as you all know, or some of you know, we have a very large family with lots of things that keep drawing us further apart. But the one thing that we had that we could always come back to was the 4th of July party and the fireworks, or if somebody was having a wedding. Oh, I forgot about that. I mean, not only did he decide that I was gonna build a golf course if you wanted to play golf, once the kids started getting married, he built a chapel there too. So we had weddings and everything, and so it was easy for us to have a place to come together. So we're gonna have our work cut out for us. We're gonna have to be very present in the moment. We're gonna have to be resolute in making sure that we stay together, stay connected. Brian said it at Bobby's funeral, the only way you can honor a life like this is to pay it forward. We all have seen him do that for years, and now it's important for us to do that. He had the ultimate safe space, and as Lindsay told you, his last amount of heroism was donating his organs and tissue, and the amount of love and support that comes from that and the lives that he saved. I don't understand though how, someone's gonna have to teach me, one of the medical people, I don't know how he donated his tan. So, that was from his Florida life that he was starting with his dear love Gina. I'm so glad you guys got a couple months. I know that wasn't the expectation. Please know that as we sit here and we all sit here, we know how lucky we were to have this continued glue. And I promise you here that we will continue to be that glue for you. So please don't ever hesitate to call on us, keep us involved. And I know it'll never be normal again, but hopefully we can at least be consistent. We definitely needed one more. There is one thing though that I can't have anymore, so I'm gonna need Tyler and Ben to come up, and we're gonna start now trying this until we get it right. Up, two down, down, back. Now you go. 1, 2, 2, boom, boom, then fist bump and in. Ready? Up, snap's the old one. Boom, fist bump, in. I love you all.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ryan Taylor, and Brian and I grew up together. When Brian's mother passed away, he was 4, I was 5. I got to know Jesse and the Joneses. And Brian and I, we did everything together. After his mother died, my mom and dad who are here today, Don and Connie, took him in. Jesse was like the second dad to me. Lots of sports, lots of good times. Not only through high school, but Brian was a very good athlete, which has been brought up many times today. But the biggest thing with Brian, as I was flying back from Maine to get here, I just remembered loyalty, charity, his honesty. Brian would give more to anyone he ever met than you could ever give him back. And he never asked for anything. And so it's been many years, and life goes by. So, Gina, Ben, Tyler, Lindsay, I never really had a chance to meet you, but what a great man. And someone you should and will be for your lifetime be very proud of to know. I'm proud to have been able to have our formative years together. We went off to college together at the University of Toledo. We left Willoughby, and 2 of his other roommates are here, Aaron Tucker and Jeff Schafter, and his beautiful wife, Jamie. And he, in that 3 years that he was with them, impacted them for a lifetime. And it's just who Brian was. And for all of us in this room, I would just like to say, if you can give till it hurts, and you're willing to do that, you're in the same realm of Brian Jones. And although I haven't been around him for the last couple decades, I can promise you that's who he continued to be. That was always his character, it was always his nature, and a lot of that came from his father, Jesse. So in closing, I just want to say that this is not the reunion, my friend, that I wanted to have. So I look forward to meeting you again. And just remember the last time we played softball together, I hit one out on you. And remember that when we broke into the neighbor's pool, I do think it was your idea. But I will take credit also, because I was the first one to hop the fence.
Anyone else?
Well, hello, I'm Matt Astry, the Wood County Auditor, and I got to know Brian not only as an employee, but also as a friend. Brian, I wore this necktie for you today. He would always show up at work with a necktie. He always outdressed everybody in the office. He would treat everyone he served with great respect, and he had customer service that exceeded Chick-fil-A's customer service. His customer service was great. He would deal with angry farmers or hotshot attorneys out of Columbus. He always showed the same respect to them, but taxpayers could never say enough about the respect that they received from Brian. Brian would always say the old ladies that would come to the office loved him, adored him. I know he loved Gina, but he always told me, I could probably learn to love again if the parcels were big enough. The Board of Revision room where people would complain about their tax values, where he thrived. He would argue with appraisers on triple net rates, square footage rates, and of course, always the cap rate. You know, that was always the thing, and Brian understood this, whether the taxes were in it or not. You couldn't double dip on the taxes. I heard that more than once from Brian. These are the things that he loved, but all the time showing respect to everyone. So, Gina, Tyler, Ben, Lindsay, just know that your dad, when he was at work, he was probably no different than he was at home. Always showing great respect for everyone. Thank you.
I guess I'll speak on behalf of the Sunblock family, Schmitz's. I just wanted to say, you know, he always, when our father passed away, our father-in-law passed away, Dick, he became really integral to our family and helping out, take care of Mom, or just anything in our house that needed help. You know, if I needed a deck that needed built or a fence that needed built, he was always there. Always, you know, whenever you called on him, he was there. The 4th of July parties, loved those. He always made sure I felt included. Man, anytime when we did the fireworks show, I was always his setup guy. You know, always made sure things were safe, and he would always say, "I can't do it without you." You know, that's all I got to say. I'm gonna miss him terribly. You know, that's all I got to say.
First off, I'd like to thank my sister Lindsay for her great speech. If we give another round of applause for that, please. Also, I'd like to give another round of applause to Lindsay again and my mom. That Saturday morning, they were there. They were able to give him CPR and give him a fighting chance. So. They didn't freeze up, they stayed calm, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Actually, I talked to multiple doctors, multiple nurses, and I just wanted to know if there's anything else that they could have done, anything anybody could have ever done. And the common thing that they told me was no, and that they did everything that they were supposed to do, and gave him that chance. God had his mind made up. I would like to thank you all for coming. It's really nice to see so many people honor my dad and the life he lived. It's truly mind-blowing how many people have been around this entire process. Thank you to everyone who was at the Honor Walk Wednesday. I wish I was able to shake everyone's hand and give everyone a hug. It was such a nice feeling turning the corner and seeing the sea of faces, all the people. I just wanted to sit up front, smile, and wave at everybody. It made me so happy seeing so many people take time out of their workday to come show their support for my dad. Thank you to everyone who came yesterday during the visitation as well. There were so many people. Everyone has been so generous, asking what they can do and asking what I needed from them. Well, since you guys asked, I need a plumber, a pool guy, a landscaper, a barber, a roofer, a handyman, a mentor, a therapist, a mechanic, a financial advisor, a comedian, a role model, a life coach, a father figure, someone to call when something breaks, someone to call when I need help making a decision, someone to watch the games with, someone to keep me in check, tell me I'm wrong when I am wrong, someone to tell me to go after it and go get it, or to talk to that cute girl and ask her out. So if anyone can cover that, please let me know after the service. Over the past several days, I've seen a lot of people that I haven't seen in years and met some people that I didn't know. The stories that each of you shared were extremely heartwarming. I always understood that my dad knew a lot of people, but the amount of people that have visited is quite overwhelming and humbling. It's a bittersweet feeling in a way. I'm saddened that so many people have to feel this pain. At the same time, I cannot be more proud of the fact that he had such a profound and positive impact on so many people's lives. The common consensus that I heard was that my dad was the closest thing to a perfect man as you could. He wasn't perfect in the sense of tall, dark, and handsome, but one of three is not bad. That is a Brian Jones quote, by the way. He was perfect in the sense that he always did the right thing. He was always showing up for people, always in it for the right reasons, and never keeping score. He was the perfect man. My dad had 2 blood children, but the truth is, he had 3. Lindsay and I were his blood children, and Tyler was his by choice. My dad never treated Tyler any differently than me and Lindsay. Sorry. He would get into him when he needed to get into him, but showed love and care when he also needed to. Tyler was no different than I was. My dad came home one night after helping Tyler out with something and told us a story. He said that Tyler introduced him to one of his work friends. He introduced him by calling him Dad, and that made my dad so happy and proud. He told that story many times, and it wasn't just Tyler. My brother's friend needed someone to teach him how to drive. My dad was his first call. The friend ended up passing the test, and guess the first place he went to after passing? It was my house. He hopped out of the car, smiling ear to ear, and went straight to my dad and hugged him. He said that my dad was the first person he told, and that he said that my dad was the first person he told the news to, and that he always saw him as his own father. He also told my dad that he was more of a father to him than his dad ever was. I rarely heard my dad cuss. I can count on my hands how many times he cussed. I can remember the exact place I was when he used cuss words. I remember the first time I heard him cuss was at Facet Junior High School. I was in elementary school and we had lost a very close basketball game. My dad was talking to another parent and he said, "That kid had a hell of a game." Me being me, I said, "Dad, why would you say that?" He always told us, if you heard me say it, then you can say it. With that being said, my dad was a hell of a person, a hell of a friend, hell of a coach, and a hell of a father. Before all the coaching, my dad was a hell of a player as well. He played just about every sport you can think of. The main sport I remember him playing was softball. We played with many of the people in this room. In high school, he played baseball, basketball, soccer, and oh, can't forget football. He was a great kicker. He is a record holder at his school. He broke the record for most goals scored in a single season in soccer. Looking at his scrapbook and newspaper articles, he was a great player. It may have been better than me, but I won't admit it, even if it was true. I do know that he couldn't shoot a basketball like me, but I will say I did admire the fact that even at his age, coaching me, his jump shot was butter, as us kids would say. He had such a smooth stroke, and even at 40, 50 years old, he made more shots than he missed. He never lost his touch. I remember going to his softball games when I was younger and watching him play left field. As I got older, they had 4 guys out in the outfield. And I never confirmed this, but I always had the mindset that my dad told whoever was playing left center to play more center field, because anything hit in his direction, he was getting. He always told this story of playing in the state championship in football. Actually, he has a state runner-up, sorry to spoil it, but they lost. State runner-up trophy back there. It was at Ohio Stadium where Ohio State plays, and he was the kicker. He was kicking off the opening kick, and he said he was so nervous and it was so loud in there that he kicked off before the ref blew a whistle. He was flagged for delayed game, and they had to redo the kick. My dad didn't get too much action that game. Willoughby South lost 26-7, but at least he got the extra point in there, along with a couple of kickoffs. That was my dad, though, always looking for his deals. He got 1 kickoff for free. My dad was one of the most loyal people I know. He always was appreciative of people that gave him opportunities and never forgot what people did for him. When I was meeting someone for the first time, most of the time my dad would introduce them by saying their name and what they had done for him, no matter how big or small it was. The most memorable thing I can remember was John Birmingham, who just spoke, giving my dad a job at the Lucas County Auditor's Office. This started the butterfly effect, where my dad could stay in Toledo instead of moving back to Willoughby, gave him a job to maintain his friendships, and end up meeting my mom through these friendships. My dad worked in Lucas County for 15 years. He transferred to Wood County, where he spent 16 years. 31 years with 2 organizations under the same umbrella. This was my dad, though. If you helped him or gave him a chance, he remembered that. And I promise you when I say this, your investment in him came back tenfold, every single time. After retiring from Wood County, he joined Vision Government Solutions as a project manager. He was extremely passionate about his work and would talk all the time about it. And I always loved to hear it. He had an opportunity to come back and work with Lucas County for the reevaluation coming up. He was so happy about that and talked about it nonstop. He and I had this joke together that he was like LeBron coming back to Cleveland to win the championship. He started in Lucas County like LeBron started in Cleveland. They left and found success elsewhere, Wood County and the Miami Heat, and then they were going to come back when the opportunity was right, Cleveland and Lucas County, to win that championship. I think the most impressive thing about my dad was that he always made the right decision. Everyone has heard of the phrase WWJD, and I know my sister already talked about it. For most people, that stands for what would Jesus do? For my dad, it meant what would Jesse do? For me, it was always WWBD. What would Brian do? Thankfully, he made sure we had the same initials, so for my kids, it will be the same thing. Just about every time he told me what to do, I did that, and every time it was the right decision in the long run. He was just really good at knowing what to do in every single situation. For him, it was not about what you say, it was about what you do. Actions speak louder than words. In my lifetime, I could count on my hands how many times I heard him say, "I was proud of you." When he did it, it always got to me and made me emotional. That was always my goal in life, and still is, to make my dad proud. My dad said this about his dad: it was never do as I say, not as I do. For him, it was do as I say and as I do. My dad had so many accomplishments in his life. I think if you asked him, he would say his kids are his biggest accomplishment, and I wouldn't disagree with them. Look at me. I think one of his biggest accomplishments was winning the championship with the baseball team when I was in elementary school. He tells this story much better than I ever could. But he said the first practice was rough. He told my mom, "It's going to be a long season, Gina. These kids can't even make contact with the ball." This season was straight out of the movies. This was our Bad News Bears, other than the coaching, of course. Nobody expected this team to do anything. Underdogs, nothing going for us, other than the coach. My dad decided to have us hit and field every single day. Teamwork, live hitting, all of it. And he was the best BP thrower, by the way. I think any one of us could agree with that. The season went on, and we made it to the championship. This was a double elimination tournament, and we had lost in a row prior, so we had to win 2 in a row. Well, with the help of yours truly, making some Sports Center top 10 plays, diving plays, big league catches, I did it all. Even the other coaches were saying, "Oh, SC top 10, da-na-na, da-na-na." Which is true. You can ask my mom about that one. We won 2 games in a row and took home the championship. There's a picture somewhere, which we couldn't find it, which I'm really upset about. But it was him holding up a lineup sheet that he made with the biggest smile on his face. He pulled off the impossible with that team that had no business making it. This was him. This was my dad. The coach, teacher, father, husband, friend, and so much more. Every sport, every season, he always was my coach. We would practice all the time outside. I can't recall ever beating him in one-on-one. We played all the time, but it seemed like when I got old enough to give him a run for his money, all of a sudden something popped up with his knee. Convenient timing if you ask me, Dad. But in all seriousness, we were as competitive as they come. There was and still is nobody that I will compete harder with than him. I assure you, he never let me win. There were no participation trophies in our family. His coaching did bring me many trophies and awards, though. I have so many memories of us working on my game before and after practice. We worked a lot on shooting and would stay for hours shooting deep threes. I would shoot some deep threes in high school, and everybody always was upset and thought it was a bad shot, other than the people that saw the work we put in. I did make them the majority of the time, though. There were times where we would practice in the gym, just us two, and we would run our offense. I would be me running the offense, and my dad would be the other 4 guys on the team, screaming for himself, coming up here, boom, ball, swing to himself. He always tried to make it as realistic and game-like as possible. The recent awards are my senior year soccer and basketball awards. For soccer, I was awarded first team all-track and honorable mention all-district. For basketball, I was awarded honorable mention all-track. Should have been second team, by the way. Missed it by 1 vote. And honorable mention all-district. I didn't earn those, though. We earned those. Every rep in the backyard, every drill, every time he pushed me to keep going when it got tough. I mean, this man decided to build a full-court basketball court in our backyard, made a soccer goal out of wooden 2x4s and a net he found online, made a 9-hole golf course in our backyard out of PVC pipe and Cool Whip containers. That was him. Those awards are just as much his as they are mine. My dad rode the waves of life with consistency, dignity, and faith. He never was too high in the good times, and never too low in the bad. My dad always talked about being the same person regardless of the day of the week. He took pride in being the same person on Monday, Friday, Saturday nights, and Sunday. He always talked about how that defined you as a person. He was a bright light to so many people and had a positive impact on everybody he interacted with. He treated everyone with compassion and respect. No matter who you were, he would always say hi and have a conversation with you if you so chose. The way he lived life gives us a roadmap to success. He wrote the playbook for success and good living. We may not always live up to his high standards, but if we were to achieve even a fraction of what he accomplished, we would be in great shape. This has been an incredibly hard week and will continue to be hard, but my dad raised us and chose a partner in a way for us to be able to get through this. My mom is an incredible woman. She's smart, she's caring, she's compassionate, she's selfless, she's beautiful, and incredibly smart, incredibly strong, among many other things. If anyone can get through this, it's her. You have the winning formula. When times get tough, you work hard, you trust your faith, you lean on your people, and you be the best possible human you can be. My dad was also an organ donor. He had his liver and kidney removed to give to people that needed them. If you take a step back and truly look at this with a clear head and no bias, one life was lost, yes, but many lives were saved. This is the most human thing I can think of. It really sucks that it had to be him, and it really had to end up like this, but that was who he was. Even in death, he was showing up and giving up his body for other people's lives to be better. Although my dad has passed away and will no longer be with us, we all have an opportunity to help his legacy live on. I'm asking each and every one of you to pay my dad forward. My dad wrote in his eulogy to his dad, and I thought this was amazing. He said, "In nature, plants and animals die and fall to the ground. Their remains break down, decompose, and become fertilizer for new growth. Around here, we see this every year. In the fall, the leaves fall off the trees, the flowers die back, the grass turns brown. But in the spring, new life emerges, almost out of nowhere. The decomposition that occurs in the fall and winter created the fertilizer that jumpstarts new life in the spring. We can all create new life with the passing of my father. We can deconstruct parts of his life and adopt those actions as our own. I would ask each and every one of you to think to yourself, one thing that made my dad great. What was the one thing that set him apart from others? If some of us can incorporate his actions, big or small, into our lives, think about the multiplier effect that he can have on our communities. So, I would ask each and every one of you, let his death be the fertilizer that fosters new growth in your life. Pay him forward, and never let this great man be forgotten. I also have one more thing that my dad wrote. Some of you may recognize this, but I knew I had to add this. This was one of my dad's prized possessions. He had it sitting right next to his desk, right next to his work desk at home, and actually showed me a few months ago and was so proud of himself. We read it together, and he said, "I'm nobody's poet, but it wasn't half bad, was it?" From the words of the great Brian Jones, "One more day." One more day, that is all we ask, to say goodbye and make it last. We long to see your bright smiling face, to be with us for life's rat race. The reality of you and the profound pain that we must bear, we didn't have one last chance to let you know how much we care. We believe that you are not far away. Your spirit lingers quite near. Our goodbyes are in the form of our thoughts and prayers, trusting each one you will hear. On March 10th, your name was called on the roll up yonder, and we who remain are left to ponder why a God so loving, so true, would leave us here to continue without you. We should not curse or be full of doubt. Your passing has been long planned. For your work here was done, and you are in great demand. We must improve our own lives, have something to work toward, prepare ourselves today to always pay you forward. May you lift us up and see us through the days ahead. Your spirit and love of life are certainly not dead. To all of us that had our lives touched by you, you lived through us as our individual lives have now become two. We know that you are here today, your hand upon our shoulders, leading and showing us the way, helping us navigate life's boulders. See us through the day ahead. We know they will be trying. Soothe out pain and comfort us on the days that we are crying. When we are lonely and sick of heart, we must lean on the friends we know. Bury our sorrows in doing great deeds. Let Brian's spirit grow. We think of him today with love, but that is nothing new. We thought about him yesterday, and on many days before that too. As we think of Brian in silence, we often hear his name. Now all we have are memories, and his picture in a frame. Brian's memories are keepsake. With that, we will never part. God has him in his arms for safekeeping, and we have him in our hearts. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening to that long speech. But thank you, everybody. And thank you to my dad for being my Superman.
Well done. You all honor Brian well. Let me share just a few thoughts before we close out our time together. Earlier this week, I was able to make it over to the hospital at St. Lee's the day that it became very clear that Brian was not going to be able to recover. And as was mentioned, a host of events kind of began to be set in motion as he was going to be an organ donor. And as was mentioned again by several, man, that moment of the honor walk is an incredible thing to behold. I know many of you were able to be there, where just doctors and nurses and friends and family just line the halls to honor the immense sacrifice that is being made there. And it's interesting when we pause to just go, why is that moment? Why are moments like that so impactful? Why are these stories and memories of somebody like Brian, why are these moments, why do they resonate with us so deeply? What is it? The thing that resonates with all of us is life. We want life. We long for life. We fight for life. We celebrate life. We hold on to it. We want to preserve it. I mean, even the way that we hold on to pictures and videos and scrapbooks and all of these things, it is in a way that we try to preserve and remember and hold on to. So when it comes to moments like this, when death strikes, there's something deep inside of us that cries out, this is not the way it's supposed to be. Like, what happened? It's not supposed to be this way. As a preacher, it's been my great joy and honor in life to help people understand the scriptures, who God is, who Jesus is, and here's what I can tell you. The scriptures are brutally honest with us in ways that sometimes we don't want to hear. And there's this common message that comes up over and over and over that I think is a great reminder for us today. Even the greatest gift, life, in this world is temporary. Even something as generous and meaningful as even organ donation. Something that rightfully recognizes that we get to extend somebody else's life and multiply that gift. Even that cannot stop the reality that every one of us faces. The writer of the book of Hebrews puts it simply this way: it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment. That's not meant to sound harsh, just honest. Every one of us will one day face the same reality. And when we do, it raises important questions. Is this all there is? Is this it? Is there any life that death cannot touch? Is there any hope beyond this grave? Jesus answers these questions very directly. Recorded in John chapter 11, standing at the grave of a friend, much like what we're doing here today, Jesus says something striking. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live. Those are remarkable words, because Jesus doesn't say that good people live forever. He doesn't say that generous people live forever. He doesn't say that people who are loved by many will live forever. He says that those who trust in him will receive life that death cannot beat. In just a few weeks, our calendars are marked by one of the most significant moments in all of history, Easter. The day Jesus defeated death, rose from the grave. And through his death on the cross and his resurrection from the grave, he opens the door for eternal life. For all those who would, like he said, trust in me, you can have eternal life. Not just one more year, not just extended life, but life forever in the presence of God. How? Through his resurrection. Through his great gift. And so gatherings like this have a way of slowing us down, long enough to think about things we often avoid. They cause us to ask deep questions. What is life really about? Where is my hope? What actually matters? What happens after this life? The Christian faith that Brian grew up in and continued to hold on to his faith in the Lord taught him. The answers to those questions are found in Jesus, the one who said, I am the resurrection and the life. And so today we remember Brian, again, a husband, a father, a coach, a friend, a man who clearly loved people, and we honor his generosity he showed even into death, through the gift of organ donation so that others could experience more life. What a gift. But today we are also reminded of something much deeper. That the longing for life that we all feel, the desire for life to continue, it is ultimately answered in Jesus. Because through him, death is not the end of the story, rather the beginning of eternal life. And so as we bring our time together to a close, I would encourage you with these final thoughts. If these kinds of questions are swirling around in your head, in your heart, lean in. Don't fight it. Don't bury it, but pursue it and chase it. Psalm chapter 34, verse 18 says this. Hear this. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. in your sorrow here today, it might be true that you have never been as close to God as you are now. He is there. He is close. And his desire is to give you great gifts of peace and love and mercy and grace and hope and life, yes, even life eternal. It is found in Jesus. So know him as Brian. Let me pray. God, as we conclude our time together here, thank you for the testimony of a life that clearly was shaped by you. God, in this world, we don't accidentally fall into generosity. We tend to be selfish people. We don't accidentally fall in love with being a person of peace and goodwill. God, these are marks of somebody who has been changed because of you. And so thank you for that. God, we want to emulate Brian's life. And so would you meet us there and give us those gifts? Help us to know you. And God, part of your gifts are peace. And so would you bring us peace? In the days, the months, the years ahead, we will need it. God, thank you for your gift of
Thank you, Pastor, and I want to thank everybody who came up and shared those stories and memories, as of course Brian's legacy is certainly will live on through all of you. As this does conclude our services here in the funeral home, what I'd like to do is give each of you an opportunity to pass by the casket one last time. Once you've paid your final respects, the family would like to invite you to join them for luncheon and fellowship, which is going to be held at the Oregon Senior Center, which is just right off in the far right across from the park. If you need directions, see myself or a member of the family, they'll be sure to get them to you. At this time, as we are going to give everybody an opportunity, I ask for your patience as we are going to start dismissing in our foyer. And you folks, if you can come around this long way and then pass by the family, and just kindly exit out through the doors, and please go directly to the Senior Center to join the family. Again, thank you for being with them. Please remain seated. We'll release your robe in order.
It's a good trip for us. That way. Well, it's great to see you. Stay together. You guys out yet?
Yeah.